Hey Bammers, what's up? Mustiyaki here, back with another interview with a mangaka. Today we interview Matsuyama Takeshi, the creator of Okami Rai, that's one of the premium artists of Inkblazer.com, what used to be mangamagazine.net. What can we learn from this artist that's making a living only out of drawing on this month's interview with a mangaka? This time we continue our journey to the north and even across Canadian borders. We set foot in Toronto, Canada. This young man has been one of the staff members of mangamagazine.net in the earlier days. Now he's fully dedicated to working on his manga series Okami Rai. This dude literally draws almost all the time. He's making a living out of drawing only, and that's something all artists want to do, right? Most of us know him looking like this, or even by his sidekick Milky, but many have seen his actual appearance. So enough being said, and let's meet the artist behind his creations, and let's find out what we can learn about making a living out of drawing. He already has his first volume printed and over 29 chapters available online, also working on commissions, which we can follow on live stream. Still, he finds the time to do the interview with us. Thank you for joining us today, the writer and artist of the manga series Okami Rai, Matsuyama Takeshi.
Thanks for having me.
Hey man. Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
You're doing really, really good with your manga.
Really busy, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Hey, what can you tell us about Okami Rai? So that's your main manga, right?
So Okami Rai is basically about a college student in Japan, and through meeting like a dog, just a strange dog, gets totally wrapped up in the world of yokai and other monsters. Most of the monsters in Okami Rai are, at the beginning anyways, based on Japanese monsters or Japanese folklore, but overall in it, I plan to include monsters from like every single culture.
Okay.
So basically the manga follows him sort of journeying and finding out all about these creatures and their world and everything.
Wow.
It's a big adventure.
Wow, that's really nice. And how is it that you came up with the first idea of Okami Rai?
So for coming up with the idea of Okami Rai, I have always really liked monsters and different creatures and animals and stuff like that. Mm. And I've never really seen like too many manga that sort of utilize a real like protagonist who's actually just like has, monsters and just that sort of thing. And when I was really young, I really liked stuff like Pokemon and Digimon and Monster Hunter, that sort of stuff. And so I wanted to kind of bring that into the forefront of the manga. So that's pretty much where it came from, just my love of that sort of genre.
And did it also start with you studying the Japanese folklore and the yokai study? That's how it started.
I think I was researching that sort of stuff like for years and years, way before. So it kind of just came to fruition over the years.
Oh, so it came from that idea, and then Okami Rai just existed, or was it the other way around? Oh, cool. And the first chapter of Okami Rai starts off with a scene of Street Fighter. So everybody's thinking like, hey, this is Street Fighter manga. But then it turns out that Jin and Sonosuke are playing a game. Mm-hmm. And are games a big influence for creating Okami Rai?
Yeah, I would have to say so. I'm a really huge gamer myself, and I always kind of wanted to sort of incorporate that in my main character. And so when you're reading Okami Rai, a lot of the references are video game focused. So like, for example, when Jin transforms into his werewolf stage, a lot of his moves he remembers, he tries to like mimic video games that he plays. So like I think in the first chapter he tries to do a Hadouken kind of thing, or in some other chapters he'll do a spin dash where he tries to spin like Sonic. So it's a lot of that sort of stuff where it just kind of shows sort of I guess it's almost nostalgic in a way.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people like look at like games, and I thought bringing that into there would be really kind of a nice little treat for readers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And 29 chapters. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. That's like a chapter each month, right?
I tried to do more sometimes, but especially like with the past year, it's been super busy, like getting married and all that stuff. So it kind of slowed me down a bit. So I've been able to do just about a chapter a month, maybe a couple more pages, but usually it's a chapter a month. I try.
Oh yeah, because I can remember that we almost started at the same time, around 2012 or something.
Yeah.
And I just got 4 chapters ready, and you got 29 chapters. But I've got 2 jobs on the side. I also got married. I got a kid, so it's very time consuming to find the time to make create manga. But how do you do that? What does your life look like?
Right now I pretty much it's basically I draw Okamirai and commissions and freelance work. That's basically what I do for work every day. So there's a lot of that, and then obviously I'm married, so it takes some time too. But for the most part, yeah, I pretty much just I live to draw, or I work to draw, I should say.
How much time do you spend on drawing each day?
Usually I start my day out kind of doing drawing and sketching. I've had to sort of fix up my schedule because I'm not like too good at getting organized. So usually I sort of put aside days of the week where I'll just draw only Okamirai, and sort of, because if I can, the thing with me is it's very easy for me to kind of get distracted. But if I can like sit down and just like focus on drawing, I can usually sketch out a chapter in a day.
Wow, a chapter in one day.
Yeah. Wow. So, and for me, when I have it sketched out, I can actually, inking is a breeze too, because inking is, because when I sketch, I don't do simple sketches. I sort of do really detailed paneling and pretty much all, like just as much as I can sort of pencil. And then when I ink, it's more or less just tracing over it and then getting rid of it. So that's one way how I've sort of tried to get a technique where I can get it done quicker.
Yeah.
But not really sacrificing too much quality for that.
Yeah. And you're a traditional artist, right? You do everything traditional.
Yeah. Yeah, even the sound effects. Even the sound effects,
wow. And then you also do the panels, also in traditional.
Yeah, I just have different sizes of rulers. Some I have that are 2 feet rulers, and some I have really, really small, like 7-inch rulers. So I use all those for paneling, and I have different acrylic markers that I use. Like I use acrylic for paneling and word bubbles. Mm-hmm. Most of them I try and get thicker ones, because I think that when I'm using panels, traditionally anyways, it's better to have a more thicker line. Mm-hmm. Because the one problem when you're using some traditional inks is that when you go back over to erase to get rid of the penciling, sometimes the ink will actually lift up with it, so it kind of fades it out. So I try to use more acrylic, because acrylic won't do that as much as regular ink will.
Okay. And for the inking itself, you also use the G pen and all the nibs, the Maru pen,
yeah.
And that sort.
I haven't used the G pen as much in the past few months. I've been more using nibs just because for me it's easier to get the nibs. Mm-hmm. A lot of the G pen is a bit more messy, and because of like with the way I have my workspace, it's a bit more. I guess it's a bit more safe to not have it too messy, because I have a lot of character and just pages kind of all around. So I try to. I like to use G pen only when it's a very like special picture that I want to bring it up.
And you also use different nibs for the backgrounds for the characters.
Yeah, I use usually for characters. I tend to use 0.3 or 0.5 nib. For smaller details and backgrounds, I use 0.1, 0.5, and 0.3.
Wow, nice. Hey, and you are Manga Magazine.net just changed their name to inkblazers.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, just recently. What do you think of that name change?
I think it's pretty interesting, but I sort of had wind of it before it happened. Actually, I kind of got attached to the manga magazine name a bit, to be honest. But in a sense, I can understand like what the reasoning was behind it, because a lot of manga magazines, comics, especially in their premium section, aren't exactly manga style. Yeah. They're sort of a mixture, and it's a good mixture because I mean comics are comics. But so I think their rebranding was probably a smart move, marketing wise, anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they can get a lot more people. Because I know back when, because I was actually working as a staff on manga magazine last year, until I switched over to just drawing the comic and doing more freelance work. But they had actually a few people that wouldn't join the site because they thought it was only for manga. So they missed out on a couple of cool artists that could have really brought a lot to that site. So I think in the long run, it's a good transition.
I understand for a business perspective, it could be much better because you got a more readers. But as a manga artist, it feels like you're in the mix. You know, it's already so difficult
because you really don't have much control over it.
Yeah.
At first, when I heard that they were switching it, I was like, "Oh no, really?" Because it almost feels like, because when they first started, they just wanted like manga style, and most of it was just manga style, and it sort of felt like it was a good Western kind of place where people who were trying to get a manga style comic out there could actually kind of go to.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I first started, I was like, "Oh man, it almost feels like they're kind of abandoning that," but it's kind of because they still sort of have a bit of the manga in there. They still are pushing manga stuff, and usually in there, a lot of their emails and site stuff that I've seen still, it'll still say manga and comics. So it's more of a just kind of opening their forte, I guess.
Yeah, the variety and stuff. But do you think that in time that there will be more comics on Ink Blazers than there will be manga?
Yeah, no, I think there's a chance it kind of could go the other way, to be honest. There is a lot of manga influence on manga magazine, and I think that just because of the sheer popularity of it, I think that it's sort of, I don't think it'll die down like a trend. I do think that it'll definitely bring in a lot more comic styles. So I think for a bit we'll probably see more comic styles on manga magazine coming in rather than more of the manga coming in. Because I think there's been a ton of manga already on manga magazine, but I don't think there's as much comics. So I think now that there's going to be more comic coming in, so the ratio is kind of going to be a bit more offset.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you are getting published by Ink Blazers.
Yep.
And how does it work? Can you tell the viewers who don't know inkblazers.com how the system works?
So basically, they I think they give it out for premium authors, and I'm pretty sure it's featured as well, because I know there's a few featured that I know personally that have gotten their books done with Ink Blazers. Basically, they take care of all the printing costs, all that stuff that's really complicated, sizing pages. You can actually even go the extra step and send them your digital files, and they'll arrange it for you and put the book together for you, and even design all that stuff. Or if you already kind of have a specific way you want it to look like I did, I put the book together myself, and then you just send the file to them and they'll print it. The way it works is basically they just take a cut of the sales, but other than that, so you basically they publish it for free and they just take a cut.
But it's a difference. So if you do more yourself and deliver it, then they take a less cut than they have to do everything themselves.
I don't think it's a less of a cut. I think it's pretty much the same, because I did all the work myself, and I know someone else who didn't, and they got about the same cut. So it's not too much of a difference. It's a really good setup, I think. Because it really allows authors to kind of get it out there and see how that market is without going through all the costs. Because printing, self-publishing on your own is a huge just process in general. So I think that it's a really, really cool program that they have. And like I've gotten the books myself, because what they'll do is that when you first print, they send you the first edition copy so you can approve it before they actually just sell it. So it's really cool to actually get that and sort of have it work in physical form. So it's a really cool program.
That's cool. And so people can go to the site and they start with being a member, right? And they can build up their way to feature and then premium.
Yeah.
Is that right? And what can you explain the difference between the member, the featured, and the premium?
So member would be sort of like DeviantArt, where you can post whatever you want. You have no obligations, whatever. You can come and go as you please. If your work gets to a point where it's popular enough and it's bringing in a lot of traffic, and they see it as potential, it's high quality, then you get promoted to featured. When you're in featured, then then it's the same as that, and then you get paid for being in featured. I think it's when I was in featured, it was a $750 pool a month, and so they divide that between however often or however many featured artists there are.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's about 50 now. It's been a huge increase.
Yeah.
And then when that goes on, it's almost like they kind of keep an eye on you. So when you see how like your performance is doing when you're featured, and if you keep getting higher up, then that's when they promote you to premium. The premium is where you actually get paid. As they're actually working towards making it so they can actually pay you, so you can make a living off of drawing for artists. Players. So when you get to premium, they pay you out of a $20,000 pool. So they
also divide it over the number of artists.
Yeah. So I think it's divided by, there's about maybe 30 of us. But then again, some of them are on hiatus, so it changes. So
but is it somewhat equally divided, or does it depend on?
It's divided based on how well your comic does. It's sort of a leg to like in Bakuman when they had the rankings for each week for Jump, which they do in real life too. Mm. But basically, the rankings for Ink Blazers that's how you get paid. So if you're higher ranking, you're gonna get paid more that month. If you're lower ranking, you won't get paid as much. So it's sort of that. And they also include your book sales. And because Ink Blazers, along with the book sales, they allow you to open up your own shop on there. So that all the income from that gets also put into with your earnings for the comic as well.
Wow. And how much do you earn?
It usually changes every so often. There's not really a set. It's sort of depending on how well you do. Usually, for the comic itself is about I'd say probably like $600 ish around there. It's pretty good. That's not including book sales too. It all depends. That was from the last time, and I was around, I think, in 10th place ish. I'm not too sure, but basically, the higher you go, obviously, the more you get paid. So it's for some of the higher rankings, it's definitely worth. Like, it's just as good as a full-time job.
Yeah. So together with doing commissions and being published on Ink Blazers, you can live your life out of drawing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I probably get more commissions, or more from commissions, I should say. Granted, most of my commissions are drawing Pokemon, but it's still it's sort of it's cool. I sort of look at commissions sometimes as like a break from drawing Okami Rai constantly, because as fun as it is, sometimes it can kind of feel like a job sometimes. But being able to do commissions at the same time too, it's kind of a nice. Being able to draw different things. Yeah,
exactly. So, you can experience a little bit, and you can work on your different styles.
Yeah.
And what did you do before Manga Magazine? Then, and how did it all started? What are the influences that made you start drawing manga seriously?
I drew manga more like just for fun when I was like 10, 11. And then when I was around 11, I started reading One Piece. And the way that, especially in Jump, the way that they sort of formulated those stories, and I think probably one of the biggest things that like drew me to it was that the difference between comics here, where it's usually a team of artists and a team of writers that do them, it's just one person in Japan that's doing it. Yeah. And I think that sort of was like, wow, I could do that. That's a cool job to have. So I sort of, so at that time, that's when I started getting more into it and like learning all about it and how it works. And then I had some drafts of old manga that I made when I was younger. A lot of them were a lot more crudely drawn, but it was still manga nonetheless. And then I started to look for like if there was any classes or anything, which unfortunately there was no classes. But we had a few art clubs and stuff like that. So I learned by just basically reading manga. I just read a lot of different manga, and I sort of, when I was younger, I mimicked the styles, and that's how it kind of.
Yeah, that's how most artists start, right? Yeah. Oh, cool. And do you have a technique or something that you use to for against writer or artist blocks?
For writers and artists block, actually, it's kind of weird because there was I think there was a blog on English just a few days ago asking about this, and I posted a comment for it. I usually say to people that it's really good to have another creative outlet besides drawing or writing, because when you need to take a break or you get that block, it's good to sort of just go all out in your other creative outlet, and when you get that, it sort of really just helps. I don't know. I guess maybe sort of get you out of that funk.
Yeah.
I play guitar for that usually. I also do parkour. Yeah.
You do parkour seriously? You really jump off buildings and stuff like that, or?
I haven't jumped smaller buildings, but yeah.
Keep it safe.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of that. And sometimes I write chiptune music or 8-bit music. So a lot of that sort of stuff it helps. It's really good for getting a creative block, because once you kind of get it out of your system and you can get back to drawing, it's almost like a fresh mindset.
Yeah. And you also have sometimes that you feel overwhelmed, or that you feel that you're not good enough for doing what you're doing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's a thing for every artist. I think that feeling kind of gets even more so when you get to a point where you start having especially when you get a book, you start feeling more like, man, am I really that good to have that sort of thing? Like, is this really that good? And so I think to a certain extent it's kind of good, because then you don't let yourself kind of get too proud, which is good. And it's always good to kind of be open for suggestions, because in all honesty, like, you can always improve.
Yeah.
And like constantly, before, like last year I would look at stuff that I drew, and last year I thought, oh, I'm doing really good. And then this year I look at it and I'm like, wow, I could have drawn that better. So I think constantly you're improving, especially as an artist, and it's sort of good to think in that mindset, not to a negative extent where you're always down on yourself, but it's good to sort of have a realistic view of it.
Yeah, exactly. And when you have that overwhelming feeling sometimes, do you have something that you can block that out, or have something that you know that you can work further on?
I think, like, for me, it's usually I can sort of just start reading other manga, and then it's like, oh, this is pretty good. This is, or if you look at that sort of stuff, so it's kind of good to see how, like, when you look at other artists and see that they're doing good too, but there's stuff that, like, you can't do but they can do, or there's stuff that they can't do that you can do. So it's kind of like, it's sort of humbling when you can kind of see that you're not the only one who's sort of trying to get better, and you're not the only one who thinks that you're not good enough yet.
Yeah.
So it's good to have sort of that common ground between other artists.
Yeah. And what is your ultimate goal? Because you get published, you got to work on a manga that you love to do. Is there an ultimate goal for you?
My ultimate goal, I'd love to see it, and I've had a ton of comments where people are saying that Okami would be a really good anime. That would be very cool. I would say probably that. I'd really like it to sort of become popular and more popular. And I hope that I can keep drawing it as long as the story is, because I've wrote it to be a really, really long story. And right now, it's chapter 29 and chapter 30 are sort of sketched out. And I've just finished, or I'm just about almost finished the second book. So that'll be actually coming out in the next month or so.
How many chapters are in the second book?
The second book, I'm trying to put more. The first book only had 6 chapters, but because chapter 1 it's almost the size of 4 chapters, for space limitations and all that stuff. Back when Ink Blazers I wasn't sure if Ink Blazers, they were having a limit on pages. So now we've sort of found out that there's not really a limit to pages. Most books that they will do are around 200 pages.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to aim for volume 2 to have anywhere from 8-ish chapters, maybe. I'd like to sort of feel, because when someone's buying the volume, I'd like to sort of, as a gift to them buying the volume, I want to put more chapters in it so they get more.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's almost about time. We're wrapping things up. On the last episode of Interview with a Mangaka with Saturday AM, we had some great giveaways. And on this episode, we also have some great giveaways. And Matsuyama Takeshi is going to tell you all about it.
So we're doing giveaways to show, I guess, our appreciation and thanks for supporting both How to Bam and Okami Rai. We're going to be giving out a free volume, prints, posters. And so the way to do this is that you can tweet to at How to Bam, and with hashtag Okamirai Bam in your tweet. I believe that it'll be right here, so you can see how exactly to spell it. And you can also send in fan art, because for the volumes, I like to highlight and showcase all kinds of fan art. So if you ever want your fan art in the volume, you can send that in, and it'll be rest assured it'll definitely be in a volume. So you can send your fan art along with those hashtags and and that How to Bam, and we're going to choose random winners, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Random winners, and the random winners will get a volume, and another winner will get prints and posters and all that sort of stuff.
Bam! So there you have it. Some awesome giveaways and prizes. Takeshi, thank you very much for this interview. Where can people find you?
You can find me on DeviantArt, Etsy, Facebook, Twitter, Ink Blazers, pretty much just about anywhere.
Put the link in the description for all the things. Yeah. Do you have a final thing to share with the viewers?
I want to thank them for watching this interview and taking the time to sort of support Okami Rai, to support How to Bam, and to support all other indie manga, because it's really appreciative, and it's really good to have that. So thank you.
Thanks again, Takeshi.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I hope the best of luck with your manga and with your goals, and I hope Okami Rai one day will be an anime. We'd love to see that. Okay, thanks, man.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yo, ciao, man.
See you.
Okay, Bammers, it's the end of our show. What did you guys think? Was it helpful? Was it useful? Leave a comment in the comment section. Also, hit that like button if you like this video. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It's a great way for getting insights and staying updated. So we also got our new website up. It's www.howtobam.com. You can also visit that for very, very cool stuff. Then somewhere in the second half of May, we launched the interview I did with the very famous YouTube artist Sophie Chan. Many have seen her draw and heard her voice, but not a lot have seen her in front of a camera. And now we have the honor to have that exclusive. She's almost ready with her first volume of her manga. The project that's called The Ocean of Secrets. So we will be talking about that and get some amazing exclusive images of that also. So be sure to check that one out. Guys, ganbatte on your manga. Until next time, Jane.